Championship. And teammate Jack Baldwin won his first race of the year. Chevrolet wrapped up its 4th consecutive Manufacturers' Championship. How will 1994 be different? Well, for starters, Scott Sharp has departed the scene. He's been replaced by 34-year-old veteran and 2-time series champion Scott Pruitt. Teammate and defending race champion Jack Baldwin is returning to the scene of a pleasant memory. But one wonders how his devastating final lap crash 2 weeks ago at Mosport will affect him today. And Ford, currently on top of the manufacturer's standings, behind 27-year-old former series champion Tom Kendall, is making its most serious challenge in years to Chevrolet's 4-year reign. The rolling hills of central Ohio, about halfway between Cleveland and Columbus. One of the legendary road race circuits in North America, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Our backdrop for round 3 today of the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Championship here on Prime. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. Great to have you with us. Really the rubber match in the early going of 94. Ford won the opener at Miami with Tom Kendall. Scott Pruitt rebounded for Chevrolet at Mosport 2 weeks ago, but there's a lot more to the story. A wild finish to that event. Pruitt had led the last several laps, but he had 5 cars under a blanket nipping at his heels. Half a lap to go. A motor blows. 4 cars scatter across the infield grass, leading to a very wild conclusion. With more on how that finish played out, here's my colleague on our broadcasts, Bill Adam on pit road.
Well, Rick, you're right. At Mosport, it was one of those incredible last-minute finishes, the type that most of the drivers wanted to forget, and none more so than Jack Baldwin. After driving a really brilliant race and putting the Camaro into a strong second place, he had the engine expire on the final lap about 400 feet from the checkered flag. Just the worst possible thing happened, and unfortunately, with the engine expiring, it really took Jack out of a great points position. He could have consolidated a wonderful run by the strong second place in a position that a lot of people had said was impossible for a Camaro to get into. They felt it was still Ford's race. Scott Pruitt and Jack Baldwin proved them differently, and it was a heartbreaking weekend for him. Now, the other heartbreak had to happen to the Archer brothers. Here was a team that came to Miami with their brand new Mustangs with no testing time and just did a performance to try and gain some points. A lot of testing took place between Miami and Mosport. They felt they were in an excellent position to challenge, and indeed they were. But the worst happened to that team. All 3 cars heavily damaged by individual accidents, and a heartbreaking weekend. But what does this do to a driver like Jack Baldwin or the Archer brothers to see points suddenly snatched away at the last minute? How does it affect them mentally? Well, earlier we had a chance to talk to them and find out.
Well, you know, like I said at Mosport, I mean, that's the first time one's ever blown up on me, ever. So I'm not expecting it to happen again. You know, you just have to put it past you. I mean, you know, it happened. It's over. You know, you can be as sad as you want, but, I mean, the race is over, and we got to get on with it. So here we are at Mid-Ohio, and we're ready to roll.
A lot of parts got bent up in the front of the car. And, you know, the thing is it doesn't really affect me that bad because it wasn't nothing that I did wrong. I mean, a car in front of me, you know, the one car blew an engine, and we were racing for position, and the flag people really didn't vigorously let us know that there was a problem. We came up over the hill 160 miles an hour, and I was in oil, and I just spun off the track, had no control of the car whatsoever. So I don't really feel it was something that I did with the shell zone car that caused a problem. I just, as a team, we've had to put back together 3 cars that got damaged very heavily, and it's put us behind a little bit coming here to Mid-Ohio, which is, generally speaking, one of our better tracks.
Well, certainly Baldwin and Tommy Archer expect a better result today, but they've got their work cut out for them, considering where they'll be lining up on the grid here in just a couple of moments. Another driver who is expecting a great season, he struggled in the early going, the owner of the Rocket Sports racing team, Paul Gentilozzi out of Michigan. Gentilozzi's been searching for speed here in the early season. He may have found it this weekend at Mid-Ohio. He's going to start 4th, and he's standing by trackside with a 3rd member of our broadcast team, John Bizignano.
Well, as the Trans Am season evens out here in Mid-Ohio, Paul Gentilozzi may be ready to pounce on top of this entire field. Qualified 4th, you got to be happy about that.
Well, I'd like to be in the front row. Been there a few times. Mid-Ohio is my favorite racetrack, but it's kind of a bridesmaid deal. Been second here a lot, and we're going to focus on winning today.
As the rules have come together to make everyone more even, how has that helped Paul Gentilozzi?
Well, it's made the Camaros more competitive with the Mustangs. It's made 10 guys now capable of leading in a race, of winning potentially. So it's going to be a real arm wrestle for every position.
A lot of those 10 guys who can win, you're the only one sitting on the grid thinking about that you've made these chassis, you make these motors, it's your operation. How much of that is in your mind as you're sitting on the grid ready to go racing?
Well, I'm really proud of our guys, but if I see one of the team cars that's had a problem, I only worry about it this much.
Paul Gentilozzi, this may be your day here at Mid-Ohio.
Thanks very much, John.
Gentilozzi, one of the drivers we'll be looking for at the head of the class as we work along here this afternoon. Certainly a driver who's off to a good start, 4th in points. As we show you the top 10, Kendall with a 5-point advantage over Scott Pruitt, Ron Fellows, and Jack Baldwin rounding out the top 5 after 2 events. And the second 5 at this point, Bobby Archer, then Dorsey Schrader and Tommy Archer, just a couple of points apart. Boris Said, who turned in a great run 2 weeks ago at Mosport, and Jamie Gallus. Certainly some drivers there we'll be watching throughout the course of the afternoon. It takes a huge effort for some of these drivers to get to the front and stay there. It takes a lot of people. One of the guys who's been instrumental in helping Tom Kendall is his team manager, Dan Binks.
Dan Binks is the road racing manager for Roush Racing, and at the moment here in Mid-Ohio, Dan, you have a slim 5-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. How much is that on the minds of every team member when they go racing?
Everybody has to make sure that they're doing the correct thing and putting the right parts on it. Everything needs to get checked. Every detail needs to be looked over. And if you do make a mistake, you just need to fix it and go on, try to be ready to win.
Now, the Drivers' Championship is one thing, but of course Ford wants you to win the Manufacturers' Championship, and there's only a 2-point spread there. You can't give up any venue, can you?
No, you can't. And if you do, you need to make sure another Ford tries to win it. If you can help them, we run 3 cars, and if one of those guys can help win it, that's what we need to do.
So Roush Racing, racing for your own team, but also racing for Ford Motorsports.
That's right. That's very important. I mean, we try to do our best job for Ford, and if we can help somebody else win it, that's what we have to do.
Well, they're going to be trying to help all the Ford drivers here in Mid-Ohio.
Round 3 of the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Championship, brought to you today by Genuine Chevrolet. One car company has won more races over the last 30 years than anyone else. Genuine Chevrolet. For some great battles in qualifying here this weekend, let's meet the front row starters.
After the 3rd race of any motor racing series, the teams have time to buckle down and really go for that last half second of speed. They've had 2 races and an awful lot of qualifying sessions and testing to get the last half second out of the car. Well, someone who's been going fast all season long, pole number 3 for the Trans Am Championship for you, Tommy Kendall. No one in front of you. What's your race plan?
Well, that's simple. It's just don't let anyone by, but that's going to be a lot easier said than done. There's a lot of tough cars in the field, but I've got to take a moment to say thanks to my guys. They've given me a car capable of sitting on the pole all 3 races, and I felt if I didn't, I wouldn't have been doing my job. So we've done that part. Now it's a matter of trying to keep it on the point for 44 laps.
Well, Tommy Kendall thinks that he's going to try and go flag to flag and not let anybody by. Well, there's one fella who's not agreeing with that philosophy, and that's Ron Fellows, who's only 0.2 of a second slower, and he's got no one in front of him. Ron, Tommy Kendall says he's going to try and go flag to flag and keep everyone behind him. I'm sure that's not exactly what you have on your mind.
No, not exactly. I'd kind of like to do the same. With the real hot conditions there, we're going to have to be smart with tires as usual. Now we'll just have to wait and see how it pans out. We want to get a good start and then work it from there. But again, top of my mind is going to be monitoring the tires. The Tom Glade team's giving me a great car. We'll just make sure we bring it home as cleanly, as slowly, and as in good a shape as possible.
Sounds like a good plan for Ron Fellows. Well, you've all heard how these Ford teams are going to try and help each other out during the championship. Well, we'll see how much that really means when that green flag comes down and they head towards that first corner.
Green and clean and slow, I don't think describes the way we'll see Kendall and Fellows get into it in turn 1. But turn 1 sets these cars up for what's really a pretty and a great racetrack. Very competitive, 2¼ miles, 13 turns, and a wide race course, 40 feet wide, giving these cars and drivers plenty of room to maneuver and to pass. We sent my colleague Bill Adam out a little while ago to take you around Mid-Ohio.
Well, at Mosport, we told you about the very difficult, extremely dangerous turn 2. And Mid-Ohio also has a very important turn 2, affectionately known as the keyhole. As the Trans Am cars come through turn 1 and down this long straight behind me, they'll be approaching speeds of almost 140 miles per hour. And this area presents a prime spot for passing. Very, very heavy braking is going to take place, and because the track is wide with good runoff areas and tire barriers, it's a great, safe place to do the passing. But the difficulty begins as they enter the keyhole area, an area not unlike a hairpin corner. As the cars come in, the land tends to fall away, and that the cars want to get just a little bit light. That in itself is a problem, but it gets exaggerated by concrete. Now, this asphalt presents a good traction as the cars go through here, but when they hit the concrete, all of a sudden they get loose and want to slide to the outside. You really have to treat that throttle pedal with a great deal of restraint. As you go further around the corner, you can see the land continues to drop down, and here is the real critical area, because a better exit off that corner will translate into car lengths ahead of your competition. That exits onto the long back straight here at Mid-Ohio. People putting all of their horsepower down up to 160 miles per hour of speed. And if you can gain a 1 mile an hour advantage off this corner, that can translate into 2, 3, 4 car lengths on your competition. At the end of the straight, one of the prime areas for passing is down at the S's. Again, heavy braking from 160 all the way down to 70 miles per hour and up into this beautiful area. This is an uphill, over-the-hill corner where the cars want to get light. They're right down into second gear, and trying to put down 600 horsepower is almost impossible. This is the reason that the thousands of fans gather here to watch the cars get light over the crest and then get sideways as they try and put all that power down. The final area is here, the carousel. This area is really one where passing cannot be done, but the critical nature is something that requires you must get a good exit, because once again, you're exiting onto the front straight. And that is the area where you complete your lap at Mid-Ohio.
And some very competitive race laps there'll be here at Mid-Ohio today for the Trans Am Championship in 1994. Let's meet our starting lineup for this afternoon's event. Ray Besta's Pole Award winner for the 3rd consecutive race, Tom Kendall, choosing the outside here. Ron Fellows will line up next to him in row number 1. Second row today will include the winner of Mosport, Scott Pruitt in the 01 car, and Paul Gentilozzi in his own Chevrolet, the Rocket Sports car. Third row today, as we take a walk back through the field, Boris Said out of California. He turned in a great ride at Mosport and was in line really for a second-place finish before crashing. And former series champion Dorsey Schrader will line up next to him in one of the Tom Lloyd Mustangs. Fourth row, young Jamie Gallus, son of IndyCar owner Rick Gallus, and Tommy Archer, one of the Archer brothers' team cars. And in the 5th row today, former winner here, Greg Pickett in his own Cytomax Pennzoil car, and Robbie Buell, youngster who was a former Indy Lights champ, coming into the Trans Am on a limited schedule, and he'll be driving one of the Roush Mustangs today. The 6th row will include Rick McCormick in car number 99, and Jack Baldwin. Will be keeping our eye on former series champion Baldwin, who has to start back in the 12th position here today. Not a good qualifying run, but he said, lock up the women and children. He's coming through. 7th row, former winner here 3 times, Darren Brassfield back in the series. Bobby Archer alongside him in the 8th row, Irv Hare and Ray Kong, who crashed early at Mosport a couple of weeks ago. Row 9, Tim McAdam, one of the other Rocket Sports cars, and John Gooding. Bill Saunders and Bob Patch will make up row 10 here this afternoon. Big entry list. Brian Richards from Vancouver and Tom Volk out of Toledo, just up the road in Ohio. In the 11th row, R.J. Valentine from Massachusetts, Randy Ruhlman. Only Dodge in the series this year, making up row 12 today. 13th row, Dale Phelan from South Carolina and Bill Gray. 14th row is Mitch Bender and Larry Merricks. A couple more rows of cars to bring you to, because we have a big entry list here today. As the cars work to warm their tires, the 15th row, Bruce Barkaloo and Phil Bartelt rebodied his car to the 94 Mustang. Mandy Gonzalez from Puerto Rico and Max Lagarde in the 16th row here this afternoon. 17th row, Don Sack and Dick Greer. Sack and the only Oldsmobile in the field. In the 18th row, Craig Schaefer and John Miller. And those are our 36 starters lining up to do battle today here at Mid-Ohio. Cars out on their pace laps will be ready to go green. It's going to be a great battle in the 3rd round of the Trans Am Championship. More on Prime in a moment. Sports car course, a beautiful day. It's been really great weather since we arrived here. 78 degrees our race time temperature with modest humidity of 34%. Winds are out of the west, a comfortable 9 miles an hour. Very sunny and bright here today. Almost no chance of a thunderstorm. Certainly a perfect day for racing as we get ready to go green here in just a couple of moments. 3rd round of the Trans Am Championship. Pace car heads in. And the car's starting to accelerate. They'll go 2 by 2 here. We're going to take the green flag on the back side of the course. Going to show you some interesting Trans Am facts. So the Trans Am's been running here since the 60s. The absolute qualifying record set last year by Tommy Archer, 98 miles an hour and change. Tommy Archer missed that by just a 1/10 of a mile an hour. Winner speed, fastest ever. Jack Baldwin 2 years ago, a little over 81 miles an hour. Narrowest margin of victory, just 0.3 of a second, but the widest margin, a lap and probably a quarter, 22 seconds plus. So been a divergent sort of result here from time to time. And Bill, Adam, who do you like today?
Well, I've been accused of being a Tom Kendall fan, and I have to prove that's true by saying that Ron Fellows may lead lap 1, but Tommy Kendall's going to lead the last one.
All right, we're going to go out on a limb here. I like Pruitt today. I really think Scott Pruitt.
You're going to go 2 Chevys in a row?
I think so. Pruitt gave it a great ride at Mosport. He is primed and ready to go. From what I heard from him yesterday when we had a chance to talk for a few minutes, I know he really wants this race badly, but there are 36 drivers here who want to see the checkered flag first today, and a lot of them have a great chance. Meantime, the field's starting to come around the keyhole, down the hill, and they'll be looking for a green flag here in just a couple of moments at Mid-Ohio. And there's one car slowing down just a little. The green flag is out. Kendall and Fellows down into the corner. And this is not really the turn 1 that we talk about here at Mid-Ohio. They are door to door. Look at Gentilozzi outbreaking Pruitt from third.
And look at Fellows. He's trying to stay on the outside, but see what happens? It keeps him on the inside going up and over this crest, and there's the lead.
Ron Fellows in car number 4 in the AER Mustang out of the Loy shops, taking over the top spot right after the green flag here at Mid-Ohio. As we look back in the field, some side-by-side racing deeper on. Remember, 36 cars and drivers and some very strong cars deep in the pack. Jack Baldwin starting 12th today as we watch the field start to sort itself out.
And one of the real hard runners from last year, Paul Gentilozzi, who debuted the car that's currently in 3rd place right now, that black and white car right there, just passing the screen. He made a spectacular run last year with this new car and has been very strong all through the qualifying session, seemingly without problem. He has taken perhaps the biggest gamble in the field today of the World Chargers, and that he is on soft tires. He is running the 4th all the way around in this car. The cars ahead of him both running harder tires.
Well, Jack Baldwin is on the move. He started 12th. He is up to 9th as we complete lap number 1. Now the cars, as they come out of pit road there, they're in turn 1 heading up to the keyhole, or turn 2. They're going to take the checkered flag at the other start-finish line. Here's your leader. Still, it's the 4 car of Ron Fellows as they work around. Lap number 2. Tommy Kendall sitting 2nd, Gentilozzi 3rd. Now Gentilozzi, we heard, wanted to get to the front as quickly as he could.
Yeah, he made no bones about it. He thought that if he could get up there and try and control the pace, that would probably help his game plan. The only downside of running a real soft compound tire is they do tend to overheat if you drive hard all the time. Look, Kendall, a little burst of smoke there. I think that was on his tires. He was under braking. You know, he was out the exhaust pipe. Again, over the crest of the hill, the cars get very light there. Just got to be careful applying power.
Paul Gentilozzi started 4th. He's up to 3rd. Pruitt back to 4th. Dorsey Schrader is 5th. And Boris said Jamie Gallus is up to 6th. And here's Jack Baldwin on the move up to 7th. He's knocked off 5 cars in 2 laps. That's hard to do.
Jack is flying. Well, he has seemingly become a fan of Dale Earnhardt and running these IROC cars.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that inspires him just to get the bit in the teeth and the foot hard in the gas and make a run for it.
We don't normally think of these cars as being cars you want to make contact in with one another, but Baldwin seems as though he's willing to try that.
Who said they don't want to make contact? I think we may see some of that today, because this is a track that allows so many good areas for passing. You can see there's Mustang, Camaro in your screen.
And a move to the inside. Kendall trying to shoulder his way by Fellows down in turn 1, but he doesn't have it.
I'm really amazed that he tried the move at that point. You've got to be particularly careful, because that's a high-speed corner, and you can easily get centered over the red and white curbing that separates the track from pit lane. So Tommy took a bit of a gamble early in the race then, and that may show his hand how serious he is about getting the lead and trying to establish a gap.
And that Royal Oak red Camaro you see back there, that's Scott Pruitt, who won at Mosport 2 weeks ago. Looked like he was trying to make a move on Gentilozzi, but now Gentilozzi stretched it out, and here's a move for 2nd.
He's got him.
Gentilozzi to the inside. No!
Backs out of it right at the last moment.
Kendall pitched him off.
Yeah, I don't think he realized that if Tommy was going to allow him the room or not. Kendall is one of the few drivers in this field that I think would actually give you room. He is not going to risk his car on just simply one corner.
Kendall obviously not wanting to give ground and lose sight of Fellows. Of course, that side-by-side battling will let a leader pull away.
It does. And although here I think they can still get back into it. They're all running on full gas tanks right now, and the cars are a little bit sluggish to the optimum conditions. You can see just runs up on a curve there a little bit. Look what that gives to Kendall right behind him there. You're allowed to close up. But again, coming into this carousel area, there's no opportunity to pass right here. All you can do is set up for a good exit onto the front straight, try and carry speed down and through turn 1.
There's Kendall again. We saw him duck to the inside as we take you back through the field. Gallus still 6th. There's Baldwin riding 7th, just sitting back at the moment down into turn 1 1 again. The leaders moving off the area where the pit road exits onto the short straightaway that leads you to turn 2. Back up front, Ron Fellows out of Canada in his AER Mustang out of the Gloy Racing shops out in front. Kendall sitting second. Gentilozzi, Pruitt in the red car, the 0-1 there. And then right behind him, we see the car of Dorsey Schrader moving up to 5th spot. Great early action here at Mid-Ohio as we watch the leaders work into turn 3. Fellows over Kendall and Gentilozzi. Pruitt and Dorsey Schrader have a dandy going as well. We're very early here at Mid-Ohio. Much more racing to come on Prime. We'll be right back. Car course, we take a look at the car of Irv Hare, the SCCA racing car. That's a computer company that sponsors Irv in this series. They've had motor problems all week. He's made 1 pit stop already. They had the hood off the car, back on, and Hare is back on the course, but he lost a lot of time in the pits while we were away. Meantime, back to the front of the pack, the 2 Mustangs, Kendall in the black and green car second, trying to track down Ron Fellows, who's led really from the drop of the green. Gentilozzi in the black and white Camaro third, trying to find a way by. Pruitt riding at the moment in 4th spot, and then in 5th, Dorsey Schrader's Ray Bestis car. Boris Said is 6th. There's Jamie Gallus in 7th. And there's Baldwin in 8th spot. Car number 1. He's dropped back a spot now as we count you back through the field just a little bit here. Leaders working out of the keyhole area and down the short chute that takes you toward the S's here at Mid-Ohio. Young Jamie Gallus, a driver a lot of people were very impressed with after the ride he turned in at Mosport. He hung around in the top 10 all day and took advantage of Baldwin's blown motor late in the race.
He did it. It worked out very, very well for Jamie, and he has adapted from the Formula Atlantic Series into the Trans Am car very quickly. This is going from a car that's 250 horsepower up to 650 horsepower. So it's difficult. Nice shot of Tom Kendall there.
Kendall, who has qualified on the pole all 3 outings this year. Here's what he's done at Mid-Ohio in the past. A not very impressive 25th 5 years ago. The following year, 2nd in 1990. I believe that was the year he won the Trans Am Championship in the Chevrolet Beretta. He was so dominant in the series a few years back, and Kendall has been the lead dog, so to speak, in the hunt here in the early going of 90.
And I think so far today, this is quite impressive, too, because he is running on hard compound tires all the way around. The blue AER car ahead of the Ron Fellows is running a softer compound on the front, so that car should respond better at this point in the race. The fact that Kendall staying close is very good for him.
The other driver staying close, the 28 car, Paul Gentilozzi, who's run 32nd and 18th. Not his favorite course. He talked to us about that earlier. He's really not had good racing luck here, but he loves the track. He considers it his home course, really, since he's out of Michigan with his Rocket Sports team.
Yes, and he is running well right now, too, on 430 compound tires. Once again, he is one of the few cars in this field that's running a softer compound all the way around. And that's a bit of a gamble. Today's temperature is almost a borderline as to whether you go to a hard or stay with a softer compound. Do you risk overheating them? So that's his gamble.
And Scott Pruitt in the 0-1 car, sitting back and forth. The winner 2 weeks ago, a 22nd back in 86, but in 87 when he was the series champ first, in 88 a 16th place finish. But he knows how to get the job done here. He's raced here in Indy cars and, of course, in the Trans Am series as well. Pruitt, one of the great young drivers in this series. And Baldwin, watching the progress of the former series champion in car number 1, started 12th. He was up to 8th and seems content to ride there at the moment. He said he was really going to charge in the early going.
Well, I think he should be content. You can see that actually the distance from 1st to 8th really has not increased. A train has formed amongst the first 4 cars, but then beyond that, there's a group of cars further back, and the distance seems to be staying quite comfortable. So Jack maybe is playing a bit of a waiting game. Some of the drivers, particularly Paul Gentilozzi, will hope for a yellow flag in this race to allow their tires to cool down. And with Mid-Ohio being a long track that takes quite a bit of time for each lap, you can really depend on a pace car bringing you right back into contention. So he may play a very smart waiting game.
Top 5 starting to open up just a little advantage over the car. Boris Said, who's 6th. There's Baldwin back in 8th spot and a couple of car lengths ahead of him in 7th right now. Jamie Gallus in that car number 67, the Entrepreneur Magazine car. Baldwin, great guy and a great champion for this series a couple of years ago, hoping to get back to the front end points. And it's very early. He may well be a strong contender. Again, the leaders working their way through the S's here in Mid-Ohio. Fellows in car number 4 off to an early lead. And I really think after the drive at Mosport for Fellows, his home track, I'm surprised to see him leading. I didn't think the car was that strong.
Well, I think Ron had a good car up there, and he was perhaps frustrated by it. There is no better place to win than at home, whether it's racing or whatever your sport. And the worst of possible thing happened to Ron. He lost some electrical power. It just didn't work for him at home, so he's got something to prove down here.
We take a look back at the 9th place car, one of the Archer brother cars. That's Bobby's car. We'll take you back to 10th. There's Tommy Archer's automobile, and good battle going on back for 13th and 14th. Darren Brassfield, a three-time winner here at Jim Derhaag's number 40, and the 6 of Greg Pickett, who's also won.
Yeah, I'm sure both these drivers are very frustrated, particularly Darren, because he's not a regular member of the SCCA Trans Am Circus this year. He is a spectacular driver, and you put him in a competitive car, he can run with anybody. So obviously the car isn't quite up to today, and he has fallen back a little bit with Greg Pickett.
Brassfield had qualified back in 13th spot. At the moment, he is showing exactly in 13th. Greg Pickett started 9th, and he has gone backwards in the Rain-X cars. We can look at young Darren Brassfield. And I say young, it seems like he's been around a long time, and he has, but he's still only about 30 years old.
I think he started when he was 9 years old in the Trans Am car, and he's just hanging around. Watch these cars as they exit the top of this corner. Watch where the fellow, the car in the lead, look at how much track he used up. And look at Kendall. Kendall takes a totally different line, and then look at how much he can close up on that corner.
Now, the car of Ron Fellows out in front, he's using the soft tires in front, the 430.
Yes, the lead car has soft tires on the front and hard compound on the rear. The car of Kendall has the harder compound all the way around. And it is particularly impressive the fact that Kendall's car is using up less track over the crest of that hill.
Everyone says Tommy Archer's one of the smoothest drivers they know anywhere. Your leader is Ron Fellows in the blue number 4 Mustang. Kendall right behind him in second. Janelozzi and Pruitt, the 2 Chevrolets, holding on to the top 4. Dorsey Schrader rounds out your top 5. We're still early in the going in Mid-Ohio. We'll be back with more here in the Prime Network coverage of the SCCA Trans Am Championship. We're underway, round 3 of the Trans Am Championship for 1994. Looking at the car, Bruce Barkaloo, car number 71, the Datacom Camaro. Barkaloo had spun earlier, but he got the car refired. He's back on the course now, being shown way back in 34th spot. Lots of interesting competition, really, all over the racetrack. Going to take you back and take a look now at how Barkaloo lost it. He was just on the outside of that corner with Don Sack.
Did a really nice job of avoiding Barkaloo. He could very easily have collected him at that point.
Barkaloo backing off the course was able to refire, as we mentioned, to get going again. And he's back out on the racetrack now. Bruce Barkaloo from Missouri, former GT1 champion in the Midwest division, and has moved into the Trans Am Tour a couple of years ago and is back on the course now. Good to see him in shape. Meantime, the leaders putting on a great show here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We've been watching that battle up front with the Mustangs really since we got going here today. The car's just doing a great job. Barkaloo out there by himself in the 71 car. He's just circulated calmly now since he got refired and got back in competition. Another car off the course a little earlier, the 64 car, John Miller from Johnson City, Tennessee. Here are the leaders now working down toward pit road. It's still Fellows in the 4, Kendall in the 11, and now Pruitt in the 01 has moved up to 3rd spot there. Pruitt got by Janelozzi on the backside of the course at some point. Janelozzi in the 28th, the black and white car, getting dropped back to 4th. Dorsey Schrader still being shown in 5th spot as we watch the leaders come up the short straightaway here. Fellows using up a lot of racetrack, as you pointed out earlier. Very aggressive driver.
He really always has been. He's not afraid to get his foot hard down in the gas pedal and spends a lot of time going sideways, which has made him a crowd favorite almost every place he goes because he is quite spectacular to watch. The downside of all that spectacle is that he uses up rear tires and is very hard on equipment. He has not had the reputation of being gentle with his cars. But thankfully, the Tom Gloy cars are remarkably solid cars. All 3 cars, you can see from the leading car back to Dorsey Schrader, who I think is still in 5th place right now, and Morris said we saw him running so competitive at low sport. They're very, very good cars. We should also make mention there are a couple of people missing today that we also missed. Michael Dingman, one of the regular Ford drivers who chose to retire, and George Robinson. Normally we see him out there in the number 74 Hunting Ranch Camaro. George decided to give up racing. We miss you both, guys.
Well, we sure do. George Robinson, a strong competitor, won one of these events a couple seasons back at Des Moines, and he'll be much missed in the series. Maybe we can persuade him to come back as we watch some of the cars a little deeper in the field. Another car off the course. We'll take a look back. The 14 car, Robbie Buell. We're watching the battle here for 10th and 11th and 12th place. The 3 of one of the Archer brothers automobiles. That's the car driven by Tommy Archer from Minnesota. Right behind him, Greg Pickett, and that is a great 3-car dogfight for 10th spot.
Yeah, the car we're watching, as a matter of fact, that was Michael Dingman's Mustang. As you see him go around the corner there, he is fairly new into this type of car as well. Did a little bit of testing last week, and all of the Roush people were apparently very pleased with him. He's adapted adapted to the car very quickly, much like Jamie Gallus has. Just kind of jumped in, and he's having a really good run of it with two truly seasoned competitors. So this is good. It's going to build self-confidence in him, and it can give him some action in the car before he goes to Detroit, his own home next week.
Buell, a great young driver, certainly. Yeah, the technology of the Trans Am Series has really changed a lot in recent years. One of the most interesting things we found in the area of shock absorber development. Bill Adam went out earlier to try to find out a little more about that.
When you come inside a trailer for a Trans Am team, you expect to see parts like this: spare rear axles, radio equipment, fueling rigs, and all of that. But nowadays, this series has become so competitive that there's some new and unusual machines. A computer hooked up with a shock absorber dyno. Kevin, what is all this taking place here?
Basically, we're running a shock that we've had on the racetrack earlier, measuring and recording the changes that we've made to it on the racetrack, hoping to help the car handle a little better for the driver.
Is this something that's taking the place of input coming from the driver?
It helps, yes.
But you put them both together?
Exactly.
Okay, now what is showing on the screen currently? We've got a couple of lines here as the shock is being pumped up and down, and what's showing on the computer screen?
We're looking at the adjustments that we've made to the shock, basically to see what it's doing out on the racetrack.
Is this making it harder, softer, or?
Both, actually. We're looking at the full swing of the spectrum.
So you can tell everything that's going on. It used to be a case of shock absorbers on cars or merely something to stop the bumps from being so harsh in the car. But I think this shows that the level of technology to have the winning team is very, very high indeed, and very expensive.
Amazing that they would spend that kind of money and effort on just shock absorber valving. It has so much to do with success.
Truly incredible, but it is such a critical thing. A number of drivers have told me differences if quarter-inch increments on these cars change the handling dramatically.
Just while we were going to your shock absorber piece, Greg Pickett picked off the Archer Brothers automobile, moved by Tommy Archer there to come back to 11th spot. Pickett had slid back in the field. He had qualified 9th, was back to 13th, and now he's on the move. He's going to try to challenge Robbie Buell there, going down into 1.
Oh, and that is experience. Right there, he almost got himself by Robbie Buell just by faking him out. He did not have a clean pass at that corner, and really got Buell to leave the door open for him by making the car suddenly appear in Buell's mirror. So watch, we may get a pass up here because I think he's got Buell watching the mirror all the time now and losing confidence. He may lose the concentration necessary to keep him in that position. So let's watch at the end of the straight. As they go down here, they're going to get up to top speed. Watch the Pickett car. The second car in the picture, the yellow and black. See if he slides to the inside of Buell to try and pick him off. And there he goes. Here he goes.
Greg Pickett, former winner here in his Rain-X Cytomax Camaro, and he nips Buell going into that right-hand corner.
And there's a car blocking right there. He is going to get by safely.
So Greg Pickett on the move. That puts him unofficially up into 10th spot. We're back with the leaders meantime under the Miller Genuine Draft Bridge. Ron Fellows as we head to the S's, still leading the show here today. We're moving into lap 13 now, so we're about, well, we're past the 25% mark of this event, really more than a quarter of the way in. And so far, Kendall really has not been able to make much of a move toward Fellows.
Very, very surprising, too. At 13 laps into the race, all of the drivers have settled into a rhythm. And for the first lap or 2 laps, you tend to drive almost with nervous action. You have to get settled down in the rhythm. But 13 laps in, Fellows, Kendall, Pruitt, they're all into a smooth flow, and they're running comfortably at this speed.
See, I told you Scott Pruitt would be a threat today. Look at that. Pruitt with a great move. 10 cars deep in the field. We're going to show you here a quarter of the way home. Fellows over Kendall and Pruitt. Gentilozzi and Schrader rounding out your top 5 here at Mid-Ohio. Morris Said running 6th over Gallus, Baldwin, Archer, and Buell, and we'll be back. Ohio Sports Car Course, Rick Benjamin, Bill Adam, John Bisignano on pit road. Jack Baldwin out on the race course right now, running an 8th spot. As we're back underway, working toward halfway here this afternoon. Terrific afternoon for racing. First time I've been back to this course in many, many years, and they've done some great improvements here in Mid-Ohio. Of course, this is home to the IndyCar Series a little later on in the summer. Trans Am's been coming here since the 60s, and really a favorite place, I think, for many of these drivers. There's the battle for second spot. Scott Pruitt closing right up on the back door of Tommy Kendall as they work through the keyhole.
And where have we seen this before? Say about 2 weeks ago,
yeah.
And then back in Miami. These fellas have really been set them a season-long battle for the championship, and it's amazing that the only one in this picture right here is the leader that has not been a series champion, the Trans Am Series. Both Kendall and Pruitt are past champions.
Not for lack of trying. Ron Fellows a couple of times in the last few years has thought he really had the car and the team that could take him to a title. It hasn't quite worked out, but I think before he's done, he'll win one.
Oh, I'm sure he will. You can see Gentilozzi there. He seems to have dropped back just a tiny bit, and maybe he's going to fall into the grasp of Dorsey Schrader.
Dorsey Schrader challenging from 5th. That is the battle for 4th. Gentilozzi, who wanted to get to the front early. That strategy obviously hasn't panned out for him, at least not so far today. Dorsey Schrader, another driver who is a charger, who just never gives up. He and Gentilozzi going at it hammer and tongs here for 4th. And Boris Said, who is 6th in the black car, the black Mustang, back in 6th position. Another driver will be in the thick of that one, I think, before we're done.
There's Dorsey. He's always smiling like that. He is just one of the nicest, happiest guys to talk to. Really enjoys his racing, and he's very much like Ron Fellows in the aspect that he likes to get a car sideways. When you get him on a street course, I don't know if anybody is much fun to watch as Dorsey.
Dorsey'd be a great guy to take a taxi cab ride with in New York if he was driving.
No, he wouldn't. Maybe for you.
Gentilozzi still holding on to 4th position. Boris Said right back there as well in car number 22. And boy, a great battle going on. There's Baldwin again, still riding 8th. Jack wanted to get up a little quicker and get toward the front. Right in front of him, Jamie Gallus in the 67th car, the white car that you saw flash off your screen to the right a moment ago as the cars worked down the short straightaway. The backside of the course, there's Boris Said, and there's Gallus and Baldwin. That's 6th, 7th, and 8th on the race course right now.
Yeah, I can't help but be more and more impressed all the time at how competitive this field is. You look at the people and the cars who are running in the top 8 positions. Here's Jack Baldwin, a series champion, running as hard as he can. He's in 8th place.
Now, they had motor problems earlier in the week. They didn't have a good qualifying run, but by the late practice yesterday, Jack had told us he was 2nd quickest among all the drivers who went out late in the afternoon. Thought he'd be in good shape. And here's a battle. Gentilozzi trying to work by a slower car, and he does get by, and that will hold up Dorsey Schrader quite a bit.
Well, that's a little controlled aggression going right there.
Meantime, we take you back a little deeper in the pack. The battle now for 12th position. We were watching Robbie Buell earlier. He slipped back a little. He is 12th. Right behind him, the 99 car. That's one of the cars out of the Paul Gentilozzi stables there. And he is running right behind him in 13th position.
Gee, he's going to nudge it right there. I was waiting for the impact as he came up. I think what's happening is that Robbie Buell got so upset by the Greg Pickett pass, and all of that took place right there. He got wide going into 1. He allows Pickett to upset the concentration. I don't think he's been able to pick it back up yet. And of course, being in a car like the Roush car, it's such a good opportunity. You don't want to blow it. You want to make sure you bring this car home safe and sound, even if you lose a few places.
Not in pieces.
Bring it back.
The car with him, Rick McCormick in the 99, McCormick out of Salinas, California. That's the SunSource Health Products Chevrolet out of the Rocket Sports stables. They're nose to tail down the backside as we take you back toward the front of the pack again. Boris Said working through some lap traffic and some tight racing going on back there.
This is when you say new words inside your helmet. In fact, Boris,
that 02 car is Larry Merrick's out of Maryland, making his first Trans Am start in quite a while as the leaders work by. We see Baldwin and Gallus and Said. That's 6th, 7th, and 8th on the track going by the Merrick's automobile. Jack Baldwin trying to work over Jamie Gallus. These cars are a lot different. They're 2,700-pound cars. Gallus has come out of open-wheel cars, as has Robbie Buell. The driving styles need to be a lot different.
Really, well, a lot of the driving style is the same. You want to be as smooth as possible, but you made a very good point. The weight, it's a huge difference. They're used to driving cars that weigh 1,000 pounds. They may enter turn 1 flat out, not even lift off, because they're working with 240 horsepower and a 1,000-pound car, as opposed to 640, 2,700 pounds. So it's a much different car to drive, and it really is hard to do that. If you develop a certain rhythm where you're used to doing something flat out at a certain point, well, flat out with 240 horsepower is a lot different than flat out with this much horsepower. You spin circles.
Boris Said in 6th. That's the Black Eagle 1 Mustang out of the Gloy Racing shops with 4 teams. Gallus is 7th in the 67, and Baldwin in 8th as one of the cars has slowed down.
It looks like a repair.
A repair with more problems. We talked to Irv this morning. They've had engine problems all week. They've had a couple of different engines in and out of the car.
Yeah, and that has to be frustrating too, because Irv is a past champion in IMSA, and he's a very talented driver, very aggressive driver as well. He, like Darren Brasfield, I'm sure, both dying to get back into a good car.
Hare has won on the Trans Am Tour, and Jack Baldwin slips up over the curb and almost got into the concrete there.
That could have been potentially very dangerous, because once you get the wheels up on the curb, it tends to drag you towards the wall instead of pushing you back towards the track. So very close, and experience kept Jack from making it look like just another day at the office.
Jack Baldwin Baldwin in the Hot Wheels Chevrolet, still on track and still running in 8th spot here at Mid-Ohio. So far, it's been an all-Ford show. Fellows and Kendall in 2 Fords, then Pruitt and Gentilozzi in a couple of Chevys. More racing in a moment. Of course, 3rd round of the '94 SCCA Trans Am Championship underway here on Prime. Rick Benjamin, Bill Adam, John Bisugiano, great to have you with us today. Almost at halfway, 18 of 45 laps are complete. Your leader, Ron Fellows, in car number 4. Let's show you the Chevrolet mid-race recap today. At 18 laps, Ron Fellows out in front. He's led since the drop of the green. Fastest race lap so far at far rather a hair more than 97 miles an hour. And the yellow flag has not been out as yet on the full course, so a very rapid pace here in the early going at Mid-Ohio. And now Fellows is really starting to lengthen his lead over Tommy Kendall in that other Mustang.
He is definitely pulling out a little bit of a lead.
Trouble on the race course. This is R.J. Valentine from Hingham, Massachusetts, in the Pennzoil Performax number 7. Another car out of the Pickett Racing Shops, and R.J. is stuck in a gravel pit. He's going to need a hook to get out of there because, as you can see, he's spinning the wheels. That is put there. That's a high-speed part of the course. We're going to take a look now and show you how R.J. Valentine got into trouble. Looks like he's on the inside coming into a corner. Oh, and he slid right in front of another car there and just backed in to that runoff area.
Yeah, that's right, with the area where I did that little feature turn 2. You can see how safe it is. They're approaching that turn again, 130, 140. And fellas, you're not going to move that one.
RJ, if you wanted to go play in the sand today, we could have taken you to our backyard.
I think so.
He was coming up on the 66 of Dale Phelan from Macon, South Carolina. Nearly collected Phelan going off the course. RJ Valentine stuck.
And this could have a sizable impact on the race because he is on the outside of the corner. They may have to put a pace car up to haul him out. That potentially is a dangerous place. Not because of anything to him himself, but should another car go off the track and hit that vehicle instead of the other car running into just sand, then it's something up against something sharp. So I think they may have to get that pace car out and pull it out away.
Leaders down into turn 1, lapping by Don Sack. There's your leader, Fellows, in the 4 car, the AER Mustang. Right behind him, the 11 car, the all-sport car out of the Roush stables. Kendall a good ways back now. Then Pruitt is 3rd, and a really long gap back to the 4th place car of Gentilozzi as we watch Ron Fellows working lap 20, not quite to halfway here today at Mid-Ohio, but Fellows has just done a terrific job from the drop of the green. And we see at the flag stand they're getting ready to put out a full course caution.
Yeah, they do.
And it looks like the pace car is going to be coming out. So Fellows, this gives everyone a chance to cool their tires and it'll bunch them up for the race.
Well, this is perfect for Paul Gentilozzi. He is going to be the one probably to benefit most from a tire standpoint. The harder tires, they'll all cool down to the same amount, but the harder tires are going to take longer to get back up to temperature. With Paul's tires, not only will he get back up to temperature quicker, he is able to scrub them clean. All the little bits of used up tire and gravel and things that are off the line of the track get picked up by a hot tire. It's just like fly paper. You just absorb everything. So the first couple of laps when you get back to green are difficult than trying to clean your tires again. Gentilozzi should benefit here.
Right now, Tom Kendall, the beneficiary of the full course caution. He's able to close back up on Ron Fellows. The field working around the backside of the course. The pace car has not yet picked up the leaders. Meantime, it's Fellows and Kendall, then Pruitt and Gentilozzi. Dorsey Schrader, 20 laps complete. We're under yellow at Mid-Ohio. Boris Said, Jamie Gallus, Jack Baldwin, Bobby Archer, and Greg Pickett rounding out your top 10 at Mid-Ohio. We'll be back on Prime in a moment. Well, the SCCA Trans Am Championship for 1994, nearly at halfway under caution. Fellows, your leader. Kendall, Pruitt, Gentilozzi, and Schrader rounding out the top 5. Really, it's been pretty steady for a time. Boris Said, good action back here. Jamie Gallus and Jack Baldwin have been going at it for a long time. Bobby Archer and Greg Pickett, who had slipped back, has now come back to 10th spot after 22 laps. We're going to take a break now from our Trans Am action here at Mid-Ohio. We're going to bring you the SCCA Pro Racing World Challenge Report, brought to you today by Eagle. The Eagle Talon is one of the most dominating cars in World Challenge history. The Archer brothers, Bobby and Tommy, have earned an incredible 17 championships in manufacturer, team, and driver categories in the 5 years dating back to 1989. The Archer brothers recently hosted a day at the races to give sponsors and some of the leading motorsport journalists a chance to experience the 5 championship-garnering talons. Joe Roos of Road and Track magazine had these thoughts.
It was really a neat experience to drive a variety of cars, everything from basically the first of the lot, which won its championship, all the way up through all the championship-winning cars to the very latest car. In some cases, they got more power, but then they took the power away and they got better handling, and it kind of teeter-tottered back and forth until finally you reach the latest evolution of the car, which has the best of everything. It has an engine with a lot of horsepower, and also it has a chassis that is absolutely just top-notch. It's a really very drivable car.
Bill Tracy, who heads Chrysler Motorsports, said this to add.
Well, to see the 5 cars there that have won those championships was impressive. And then to jump into the 1995 model in 1994 and to ride it and to drive it was probably the best. It's 8 months before the introduction of the car. It is everything that a car should be 8 months from now, but it's here now, and it's already won its first race, 1, 2, 3 in Miami, and we're off and running for our 6th consecutive team and manufacturer championship.
And we'll be back with more Trans Am racing from Mid-Ohio after this. Mid-Ohio sports car course just past the halfway mark, still under caution for the R.J. Valentine spin. Fellows and Kendall out in front, Pruitt, Gentilozzi, and Schrader rounding out your top 5. Boris Said and Jamie Gallus, who've run very well the last couple of weeks. Then Baldwin, Archer, and Pickett, some of the familiar names. I think a little bit deeper in the field as the cars move down the main straightaway, evidently not yet ready to go green at this stage of the game. Tommy Archer up to 11th. Robbie Buell, the young driver for Indy Lights champ, first start in Trans Am. Ray Kong, who crashed at the start at Motorsport 2 weeks ago, is running well today there at Brassfield. Kevin Cadam, sports cars. Bob Patch turning in a nice ride. Patch in the only Pontiac in the series moving up. Tom Bolt, Brian Richards, Phelan, and Rick McCormick your top 20. McCormick had problems earlier, but seems to be okay back in here. Now, for the folks who are just joining us for the first time, Bill Adam, what's the snaking the car?
Tom Glover.
Well, a lot of people think it's just erratic driving. You're getting tired and hot and all, but actually it's accomplishing 2 things. That a racing tire works its best at an optimum temperature. These tires at about 240 degrees is what you want to try and run at. Anything less or anything more, and the tire doesn't have the greatest adhesion. But the second thing that is just as important, as the race goes on, the outside edges of the track start collecting little tiny pieces of rubber, debris, tiny things that get blown onto the track. And a hot racing tire, it's almost like a sponge. It will pick these things up. If the race resumes without having cleaned your tire by scrubbing across the pavement like an eraser, you get a tremendous wheel vibration, and the car doesn't hold as well. You're not actually working with racing rubber. You're working with whatever's on the tire. So they want to keep the tires clean.
Now they're working to do that right now. Still a lap or so to go before we go green. Let's go pit road side. Team manager for the driver who's led all the way is standing by with our John Bisignano.
Tom Gloy, owner of Tom Gloy Racing, you must be pretty happy right now. Ron Fellows leading this race.
Well, John, we've got a long way to go. The Mustang Cobra, the AER car is running real well. Ron is very confident at the moment.
How are the tires holding up? Is he able to run flat out, or is he kind of trying to conserve things a little bit?
Well, he's at the front. He doesn't need to run any harder than that. So as long as he just stays there, we'll be happy.
Tom Gloy happy now. Let's hope it lasts for the rest of the race, Tommy.
Thanks, John.
About 20 laps to go when we go green, and there is the leader, Ron Fellows. We heard from his team manager. They're pleased with the way things are going so far, but do you think Kendall might be holding something back?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, Dan Biggs, the crew chief, was saying how if they can't win, they want to try and help another Ford team, but I don't think they're going to be quite this generous. He really does not stand to benefit by holding anything back at this point, because he is on the hard compound tires, and if anything, he would want to try and lead this race and force the other drivers to run harder than they want. They're the ones that'll suffer, and they're the other cars that are going to benefit by the pace being slow right now.
Ron Fellows off to a uncharacteristically slow start, I think, this year. 5th at Miami, 4th at Motorsport 2 weeks ago. But he has led since the drop of the green, shouldered his way by Kendall. Interesting at the start, Kendall chose the outside lane, and it cost him. Fellows was able to snooker him there in the first lap and grab the lead.
Yes, and if you remember your wise co-host, that first lap lead. I mean, I hate to bring this back up.
Hey, we want to give credit where credit is due, even in your case. So.
I thought I saw some aggression in Ron earlier, and he really wanted to try and win this race. And to win it, you've got to get ahead of Tom Kendall. He is so smart. He's like a Scott Sharp. If he has the opportunity, he will conserve his car and conserve his tires. So you want to try and force him to run a harder pace than he wants, or at the very least, lead him all the time. It's one thing to catch a car, but it's a whole different matter to pass a car.
As we take a look a little deeper in the field, we see the 4th and 5th place cars, Gentilozzi and Dorsey Schrader. And there's Jack Baldwin, Bobby Archer, Greg Pickett, Tommy Archer working our way back, and Robbie Buell. Cars and drivers getting set to go green, we're told. Next time around, a couple of the other Rocket Sports cars moving by there. There's Bob Patch, who's done a nice job today in the Pontiac. And there's Randy Ruhlman, the purple Dodge, the only Dodge mounted car. That's a former Archer Brothers machine, the preformed concrete car. Ruhlman racing with a broken foot, we're told.
Amazing. I really don't know how he's doing it. He's taking one of those cars. It's got a very pretty paint job, too. That's a great looking car. And is doing a really strong job for an independent team.
Randy Ruhlman, one of the veteran competitors in the Trans Am Championship. One of the charms, I think, of this series is the drivers get the indication the base car's headed in next time out of the carousel. And a lot of these guys have been around doing this for a long time, and there's really a good camaraderie between the drivers. They all know each other very, very well at this stage of the game. Fellows in car number 4, your leader, Kendall, right behind him in the 11, ready to go green.
I've watched Tommy at this point. Look at, you can see the rubber come off Fellows' car there as he accelerated so hard on relatively cold tires. The car got wheel spin all the way through second gear. Now watch how the two cars perform and see if the softer tires on the lead car, the blue AER number 4, are going to be better than Tom Kendall's. They should be.
Less than 20 laps to go, and Kendall, and there is Pruitt and Gentilozzi, Schrader, and Said. The first 6 have started to pull away now. There's Gallus in 7th in the 67. Baldwin in the 1 car running in 8th spot. Right behind him, one of the Archer Brothers automobiles, the 9 car. In this case, Bobby Archer has moved up to contend. He's up in 9th, and Greg Pickett is 10th. At the moment in car number 6, as we look back at that line, here's Pickett to the inside of Bobby Archer. Here's Baldwin with a move to the inside.
Oh, he can't do it. He can't. He's going to spin.
Baldwin's lost it going down into the 3rd turn. He's off the course. Looks like a replay of motorsport.
Right. Cold tires caught him out there. He tried to go down the inside, realized he could not possibly beat Gallus. Gallus did the right job, and if anybody had made a mistake, I would have thought Gallus would have.
Sure.
His inexperience or lack of experience with this car. But Baldwin got caught out on the tires, and now look at the number of positions he's lost. He will be furious. Here's a replay.
Back.
Look at Baldwin go up the inside and watch. Look at the car start to swerve right there as he realizes he can't possibly do it. Does a great job in avoiding contact. That's class and experience on Jack Baldwin's part. Could easily have taken the Gallus car off, but didn't. He avoided it.
Thought he was going to get into Gallus there when the car fishtailed going down into the corner, but Baldwin spinning out of harm's way, getting refired back on course, and he's on the lead lap, but that is going to shuffle him to the back of the lead lap cars, which should put him back around 12th or 13th spot as we take a look at the timing and scoring monitor provided to us by the SCCA. Baldwin all alone, and now he's picked up some debris on the tires, no doubt. We'll keep track of that for you. Back to the front now. Scott Pruitt starting to put some pressure on Kendall for 2nd spot. Pruitt in that 01 car, the Royal Oak car out of the Buzz McCall stables, Baldwin's teammate. We'll see what happens here. Fellows, meantime, starting to lengthen the lead. Fellows about 10 car lengths ahead as they move out of the keyhole. Fellows, your leader, Kendall, Pruitt, Paul Gentilozzi, and Dorsey Schrader, your top 5 on Prime for the SCCA Trans Am Championship. 2 weeks ago. Meantime, big questions about Tom Kendall and his situation, whether he's holding anything in store for the last 10 or 15 laps. John Visignano standing by on pit road with the team manager for Kendall.
Dan Binks is heading up the crew chiefing for the number 2 car. I want to ask you, Dan, right now we got Tommy Kendall in 2nd place. Is he pushing as hard as he can, or is he trying to save a little bit for the last parts of the race?
I think we're trying to save a little bit for about the last 10 laps. I think you'll see a pretty close race. Pruitt's probably holding up a little bit. I think it'll be real close at the end.
Tom's always thought of himself as quite a manager of the entire car, the tires, the engine, everything. What's he saying to you on the headset? Is anything showing too much temperature, anything going away on him?
No, everything's good. He said the handling wasn't the greatest in turn 1, but everybody else was great, and he's just waiting for the end.
So you're looking for the last 10 laps to shoot out?
Yeah, I think the last 10 laps, maybe last 5 laps, we'll try to lead it.
We're looking forward to it.
Now, Kendall must be a poker player in his other life. He's holding a couple of aces, I think.
And you know what? I believe Dan Binks. I think he is being right, frank, and honest with us. Again, look at Kendall. He uses so little road coming over the crest of the hill there and is able to regain all that ground so quickly down there that I think he's right. I think he's just playing the waiting game and conserving the car.
Top 3 cars have started to stretch it out again over Gentilozzi since we went back green. Paul Gentilozzi's car just not up to it evidently today. Running a good 4th, but really unable to reel in the 3 lead cars. Back in 5th is Dorsey Schrader. We see Schrader just coming down into those corners now. The other blue Mustang out of the Gloy Racing shops. There's Fellows. He's been out in front all the way. We're working on lap 30 here in Mid-Ohio, and this is the 2/3 point of the 45-lap event. Fellows out of the carousel and up onto the main straightaway, followed by Kendall and Pruitt, who won the first 2 rounds, as we've shown you here on Prime. We'll take you back a little further and show you Gentilozzi's car down into 1. Paul able to gain some ground down into the first turn there.
Yeah, he really is running only about 2 seconds behind right now, so he is not out of the picture, but I don't think Paul is playing a waiting game at this point. It would benefit him most of all to try and lead, much the same as I talked about getting Kendall into the lead so he can control the pace. Well, this is the man who would benefit most of all by doing that because of the soft tires.
But don't you think at this point, if he had the car that could get to the front, he would have already made the effort and would be out there?
I do. I really do believe that Gentilozzi would be in front if he possibly could. He may not have just the ideal handling combination today, or maybe down fractionally horsepower. Who knows what.
Top 4 cars. Gentilozzi sitting in the 4th position right now. And right behind him, the Ray Vestas car of Dorsey Schrader. Good friend of ours, former series champion. Dorsey, one of the great guys in the sport. His drive driven a little bit on the Winston Cup Series, and certainly one of the strong Trans Am runners of all time. Running along in 5th now in that Mustang out of the toy shop. And his new teammate, Boris Said, right there with him in 6th.
Boris has been really impressive this year, and as I admitted to Dorsey earlier today, we were chatting with him, I really didn't think Boris would adapt to the Trans Am car so quickly. He has taken to these like the proverbial duck to water. He's just having a great time out there. And at Mosport was a legitimate challenger for 2nd place on that final lap just prior to Jack Baldwin's engine exploding.
Boris is a young fella, but he's got a lot of experience. He's raced in the World Challenge for several years and has run showroom stock at the regional level. He's from Connecticut originally, not too far from where I grew up, but fine young driver. I'm really pleased, as is the entire team, to have him in one of those Tom Gloy Mustangs this year. We look back a little deeper in the pack now. Jamie Gallus still running along smoothly in 7th, right in front of Bobby Archer in the Highwaymaster car, the number 9 car. There's Greg Pickett in 9th spot in car number 6. So Pickett turning in a good ride here today, but that has been a great battle. It's gone on really all afternoon long.
Yeah, and I'm sure glad to see the Archer cars back out here this weekend after that disaster at Mosport. And that's something that is, it's just so crushing, not only financially, but psychologically damaging. You try your best and you get put out by something totally beyond your control.
Now, these are 100-mile races. These are sprint races. If you have to pit, you're out of luck. You don't want to change tires. You don't need fuel. We saw a puff of smoke there out of Gallus's car down in the corner. Is this a stage of the race where the tires are starting to give up in some cases?
Well, the tires do give up a little bit at this point, but with the Trans Am series being so competitive nowadays, they're forced to run these V8 engines, whether Ford or Chevrolet, in the range of 8,800 to 9,000 RPM. Wow. And a lot of people are saying it's time to start mandating RPM limiters.
They're twisting them hard. Ron Fellows twisting it hard as anyone. In fact, the hardest of all. He's led all the way for 31 laps. Morris said in 6th. Then Gallus, Archer, Pickett, and Tommy Archer back at Mid-Ohio in a moment. Bobby Buell and Ray Kong. And this is a fight for 11th spot. Buell in one of the Roush cars, the 14. Kong in one of the cars, the SunSource Health Systems Chevrolet. That's a car out of the Rocket Sports stables. Buell, the young driver of whom much is expected. These 2 cars have really been going at it.
Yeah, they have. They're having a really great run. And Bobby may have gotten rattled a little while ago by that Greg Pickett pass, but he seems to have picked up the pace again. And the car that he's battling with, one of the Rocket Sports cars, this is a very good car and driver combination. He had a dreadful luck at Mosport, but he has rebounded and he's running a strong 12th place here, trying to make it 11th.
Ray Kong, a veteran of sedan racing, moving into the Trans Am really for the first time this season in one of those cars out of the Rocket Sports stables. Robbie Buell, as we pointed out, the former Indy Lights champ, raced Indy cars first couple of events this year. Leaders, meantime, starting to check out. We take you back to the front of the show.
Yeah.
Fellows, Kendall, and Pruitt, and those 3 cars are really under a blanket.
I think it's time to play right now because you can see they're all getting very close, and this is getting to the area of the race where right now Kendall is going to start making his charm. Down the straight, it looks a bit like the Gloy car is able to pull ahead of the Roush car. Watch what happens down here. This is the area where Kendall is at his best. Up and across the hill, he keeps it very tight as he goes. Just watch right here. He's going to hold it tight, tight, tight here. Keeps it in tight. Now he gets a much better line in the next quarter. And look at how much he closes up. Look at that, almost able to hit him.
Gains gains right all the ground he needs to get right up on Ron Fellows' car. The car back in third, the 0-1 of Scott Pruitt, who won 2 weeks ago. His team owner is Buzz McCall on pit road.
Buzz McCall is the team owner of the very successful American Equipment Racing. 3 championships in 3 years, Buzz, but you're having some trouble out here today. A great run by your driver through the field from that 12th place qualifying position, but I'm afraid he's slowing down now. What's the trouble with Jack Baldwin?
Well, Jack in the high wheels, he had a tough qualifying session, started 12th, as you know, and he was just trying to pick his way through the field, and I think he got a little over anxious on that restart, trying to get around Jamie Gallus, but, you know, he's going to have a long afternoon. That happens sometime.
What about the car? Is he going to have to come in for some new tires, or is he just going to be able to go out there and keep it going around?
No, he'll be fine. His temperature was running pretty hot, and I noticed he's got some grass on the front grille, so he's going to have to watch his temperatures pretty closely because, you know, we don't want to hurt the motor.
How about the championship for you this year? Not exactly where you want to be on the 3rd race.
Well, you know, this is going to be really season to end all seasons. There's a lot of tough competition, and Scott Pruitt in the Royal Oak car. Scott's in real good position on this race, and he's going to take it race by race, but I think Scott and Jack will be there at the end.
Going to Detroit next week.
It's the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl. Good luck at the Super Bowl.
Thanks, John.
Jack Baldwin soldiering on after his spin earlier, being shown right now in 20th spot on the lead lap, one of the last cars on the lead lap today here in Mid-Ohio. But his teammate, Buzz McCall's other car, the 0-1 of Scott Pruitt, up in third, as we have shown you throughout the course of the afternoon. Baldwin all by himself out there, being shown in 20th spot. Meantime, we're getting down to it here. 10 laps to go. Next time by for the lead cars. Lead cars out on the race course. Still the 2 Mustangs up in front, the Pruitt Camaro. There they go out of the carousel up onto the main straightaway, and it is the 4 car of Ron Fellows still out in front, the Tom Bloy Mustang, and the Roush car of the 11 of Tom Kendall in second. Pruitt a little further back in 3rd spot. Those 2 Mustangs have really been working each other over the last several laps.
And we can see now a gap is developing for that 3rd place car. You can see them pulling away, so I think Kendall is the one that's pushing harder, and I would expect that this is the time you're going to see a pass within the next couple of laps. Perhaps down at the far end of the track, because that's where it really seems to be strong. It's particularly impressive through that area.
Cars whistling down the backstretch here at Mid-Ohio, past the place where they got the green flag. We take you back looking at the battle for 11th. Again, Robbie Bueller going by the Bruce Barklund car. Robbie Buell and Ray Kong in the 87 really working each other over through the keyhole there. Buell trying to hold off Kong. They've been nose to tail for several laps now. 10 laps to go as we are under green here at Mid-Ohio. Buell and Kong really having a great fight for the 10th spot. Great fight for the lead, too. Fellows and Kendall and Pruitt are going to settle it amongst themselves when we come back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course on Prime. To go. Your leader is Ron Fellows in car number 4, and he's lengthened it out just a little bit now over Tom Kendall.
This is astonishing. I can't believe that he's able to do it right now. If anybody was going to be suffering tire problems, it would be Fellows. He's the guy who notoriously has been hard on tires, hard on a car, and yet he's running the softer compound on the front. Kendall, remember, he's the harder compound all the way around. He should be having better tire success than anybody, but that's not happening yet.
And Pruitt's style, and back in 3rd spot, is really to be hard on the gas, too, but he seems to be dropping back just a little. Now they come up on some lap cars.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt. This is really going to hurt. He got blocked in a dreadful place going through that carousel out of the front straight. Right now he's anxious to try and get by, but the car is also going to hurt Kendall. If Kendall can get by, he does, just before turn 1, and so does Pruitt.
That 82 car, Dick Greer from South Carolina, in the field, running toward the back of the pack here today, and he was gracious, got out of the way of the leaders as they came through. Fellows is out in front still. He's led all the way. 37 laps on the board, 8 to go. Here's Kendall again down into the keyhole. He's getting a run down into that corner, but he's just not able to get up on it.
There was an error right there on Fellows. Fellows got his right front wheel up on the curbing. He would have had to get off the throttle a little more than normal, so perhaps this is going to give Kendall a closing shot down the straight. I don't think so. I don't think he's close enough, but he can definitely get closer than he has been for the past few laps.
We've seen Kendall try to make a move with that right-hander at the end of the straightaway there a couple of times. He's gotten up alongside Fellows. That's really where Fellows established the lead back at the drop of the green flag.
This is where he closes up. Now, this area, he can't actually pass it because they go slightly to the left here, and the next area, if he really gambles hard, he can do it down right about there. But not now. He's just not close enough.
Tommy Kendall trying hard. You know, we heard from his team manager, Dan Binks, earlier that with 10 to go, he would really get the whip out and try to charge, and he's trying. trying, but Fellows has been able to hold him at bay as we work on lap 38. There'll be 7 to go next time by, and now Pruitt has closed up nicely on Kendall.
Pruitt is really tigering at this one. I think it's a spectacular success of what the SCCA have been trying to do, in that they want to create equal cars. Don't give anybody an advantage. All of the cars are running very, very close. The only surprising thing that we saw at Mosport, it looked like the Gloy car seemed to have the strongest motor up the straight. We watched Boris for so many laps. And once again, I think it actually has a stronger engine than Roush car does here.
And that's a surprise because the Roush team noted for their engine development up in Livonia, Michigan. They've got that huge engine facility that they use in Winston Cup and in Trans Am.
Jack Roush is the best.
Right now, the Kendall car out of the Roush stables not showing as much strength. Fellows opening up 10 or 12 car lengths out of the corner and down the backstretch there. Pruitt in 3rd spot. Boy, a little smoke out of Pruitt's car in the braking.
Just a tiny bit. I think Scott is driving the wheels off this car right now. He's using it right to the nth degree. When we watch him go through this little section, just the area where I talked about perhaps he might be able to get a possible pass. Watch as they go over the crest of the hill and disappear. They'll come down here, a little right-hander. Next turn, watch as Scott Pruitt goes over the crest. And look at how much road he uses up. Watch this. Look. Right to the edge and just touches the curb.
Do you want to lean on that curb and get a little push off the curb?
Well, I don't think so. Your chances of making a mistake by doing that are increased so greatly by having the wheels grabbing onto the concrete. Look, once again, Pruitt is right on the tail.
That is his favorite spot coming out of the carousel, obviously. We've seen Pruitt draw right up on Kendall the last several laps there. 5 laps to go the next time by. This is lap 39 going on the board. There's Boris set back in 6th position. He's run a nice, comfortable pace back there. He's got Jamie Gallus right behind him now in 7th. There's been a little shuffling going on back in the pack for those spots. Jamie Gallus has moved up now behind Set in the 7th spot, and then Greg Pickett being shown on the scoring monitor up in 8th. So there's been a little bit of activity back among some of those cars. Top 5 pretty much the same. Boris Set in the Eagle 1 Ford out of the Bloy shops, and as we've talked about today, a driver a lot of people are starting to cast their eyes on.
Yeah, Boris, you can see he just locked that right front wheel as he went into the boot up there. That shows how hard he's trying. He's getting the braking right on the limit. So just barely locked up the wheel. He's trying very hard to pull ahead. But Jamie Gallus is particularly impressive. Once more, a little blast of smoke out the car there. Gallus, to be such a rookie in these cars, that is really impressive. I did not expect to see that.
Gallus, who turned in a great ride, had a podium finish up at Mosport after the crash. He's really working Shed over. We'll keep an eye on that. Fellows leading Kendall, Pruitt, Gentilozzi, and Schrader. 5 to go next time by. There's your second 5 at Mid-Ohio. We'll come back in a spin. One of the cars spinning. Looks like Boris said looping it. We'll be back. According to our scoring monitor now, and that boosts Jamie Gallus up to 6th. Meantime, last handful of laps. There's Paul Gentilozzi still running in the 4th spot now. And a lap car right behind him. Your top 3 cars working through the S's. Still Fellows in the blue number 4. Kendall in the black number 11. Pruitt in the red 01. 2 Fords and a Chevrolet.
Oh, and it's showtime. Look at this. Is that Kendall has got it. He has got to do it now. But Ron Fellows has been driving so well. He has been beautiful today. That car, I don't think we have seen it go sideways once, have we?
No. He has been using up a lot of racetrack, but very, very smooth today. 41 laps complete. 4 to go as they flash by the start-finish line. And there's another car, of course, it's
Jamie Gallus is off now, too.
Jamie Gallus, who was up there in the 6th spot. He's been battling with Sed for Sed spins. Now Gallus obviously has hit something.
I would bet he's hit another competitor. He's trying to push his car off the track. He's not going to get up the hill trying to be a snowplower like that. So he's got to get out of the way.
This could bring about a full course caution. Gallus obviously has stalled at the inside of the corner. That is not too far into the keyhole area, I believe. And that could cause big problems for the rest of the field. Leaders, Pruitt working hard as we show you the top 3 cars. Pruitt dipped the wheel off the course there for a moment.
Boy, and nobody wants to see this race finish under caution. We've got to try and get 3 more laps of green here. So come on, Gallus.
Jamie Gallus unbuckling, and it looks like he's going to try to come out, which is a surprise to me, although I'm sure the yellow is out in that corner. But still, that is not a good situation to be in. And we are going to get a full course yellow, the word from the SCCA. 42 complete the next time by. 3 to go, and they're going to try to hustle and get the Gallus car off the course.
And I don't think it's possible.
Now the track crew is right there, motioning the leaders by. You just saw Paul Gentilozzi go by. Leaders take lap 42. Fellows, Kendall, and Pruitt, and Gentilozzi and Schrader. And the pace car is coming out at Mid-Ohio. And We'll be back trying to take you to the checkered flag here on Prime, the SCCA Trans Am Championship.
Mustang. It is what it was, and more.
There are a lot of things on our label that I'm really proud of. I'm proud of the name Coors on there, sure. And I'm also proud of the fact that we use all natural ingredients. What I really like best is down there where it says where we come from. A little town in a valley that my great-grandfather rode into 120 years ago.
Welcome to the University of Hawaii, an educational institution noted for its diverse curriculum and committed to quality, accessibility, equity, and accountability. The university is one of only a handful of land, sea, and space grant institutions, a designation that brings resources, programs, and opportunities in research, education, and community service. For more information, contact the University of Hawaii Information and Visitors Center, 2465 Campus Road, Honolulu 96822.
Back at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, good to have you with us today here on Prime Network. These drivers all have to be very comfortable as they run these cars. It's a safety issue, too. Bill Adam has more for us on how these high-tech seats are being constructed.
For years, a seat in a race car was thought to be nothing more than just a device to hold the driver in place. There was never any thought given to comfort, as comfort just didn't fit the idea of a macho race driver. Well, things have changed. A doctor by the name of Brock Walker had some different ideas and decided that if you could provide a seat to increase safety as well as driver comfort, you were going to get better performance over a longer period of time. Here is a seat that is designed around a carbon fiber shell, and inside this shell, there's padding that is put in very carefully and strategically placed areas. Particularly, there is attention placed to the lower spine, the thoracic area. Tremendous support here. The seat is designed to each driver, paying attention to driving style and size, weight of the driver, even the way he drives the car, to make it as comfortable as possible. And what does all this do? Well, think of yourself as playing tennis or golf on an afternoon. Your first game as opposed to your last game. Your performance decreases. If your performance goes down on the racetrack, two things are going to happen. Either you go slower, or the worst is you crash. By having this seat, the driver is much more comfortable and doesn't fight those forces all day long. So at the end of the race, he is just as fresh and going just as quickly. Could very easily be the difference between winning and losing one of these high-pressure races.
Certainly having the comfortable seat is a key element for a driver in this series, because these cars are a handful to drive. Very powerful, very lightweight, and being well anchored into your seat, as Gentilozzi obviously is, will give a driver quite an advantage.
I guarantee they don't even know if they have seats in the car right now.
Who's got the advantage? We see Gallus's car removed.
Look at this.
The pace car's coming in. We're going to get a green and white flag, one lap of racing, and Ron Fellows leads him under the green. Last lap of the race here at Mid-Ohio.
Scott Pruitt just blew it. Look at the gap he gave the leading two cars. I can't believe that he didn't have the nose of the Camaro right underneath Kendall's Mustang. He should have been jamming him, because what he could have done, I think, to push Tommy into trying to get alongside Fellows, then he would take advantage.
Look at Kendall on the inside. He is pressuring Fellows, and there's contact. Fellows is off the course.
Watch for
Kendall and Pruitt go by. Let's see what happens. Fellows plowing up some real estate here, trying to get on the course. Fellows is back on track, but he's lost many, many positions. Here's the battle for the lead. Kendall in the black number 11. Pruitt in the red 01. Gentilozzi right there in the black 28 car.
Oh, look at Tommy. He's in so deep, he's smoking the right rear tire. He actually walked up the brake, under braking, but look at Pruitt. This is exactly what Scott Pruitt has been waiting for.
The two drivers who won the first
Again, he lost the brakes.
Kendall, the winner at Miami. Pruitt 2 weeks ago at Mossport, and they are going at it. Last lap here at Mid-Ohio. Kendall, your leader at car number 11. Pruitt in the 0-1 right behind him. Short straightaway here. This one is almost over. Jen Losey's within striking distance, too. Tom Gloy, the owner of the Ron Fellows car, can't believe what he's just seen happen. Kendall still out in front of Pruitt.
Pruitt is doing everything he possibly can, but watch how deep Tommy gets into the corners. I don't know if Scott's going to get a chance or not. I don't think so.
Here they come to the final corner. Checkered flag is out at Mid-Ohio, and it's going to be Tommy Kendall for the second time this year. Kendall, your winner in car number 11. Pruitt finishes second in the 0-1. Jen Losey grabs third in the 28. And the 12 car, Dorsey Schrader, getting fourth spot unofficially here and unofficially rounding out the top 5, Greg Pickett. And there's Ron Fellows, his teammate Schrader, who came across the line in 5th. Fellows, meantime, what a terrible break. We're showing him in 9th at this point. He led all the way up until the last lap.
Just a staggering development, and I don't think that I'm sure there's going to be some protests flying over this, but I really do not think that was anything deliberate on the part of.
Did you see contact? I didn't see contact there. Did you see contact?
No, I'm guessing there was. I don't know if there was or not. I don't see any signs of damage on the front of Tom Kendall's car.
No.
And here, let's take a look as they go into the corner. Watch closely when they turn in. Look at the back of the Mustang right there. The AER car is already on the limit of adhesion. There may, I don't know.
I think he may have just caught him a tiny amount there going into the corner. Kendall looked as though he was faking outside and then jerked the car back to the inside of the corner.
I think he did, and I think he just got Fellows going in so deeply. If there was contact, it was the tiniest tap possible. It certainly was not anything deliberate or flagrant, so I don't think a penalty will be assessed to Tommy Kendall.
Now, at this stage of the race, 45th lap of a 45-lap event, did Fellows have much grip? Is it possible that he lost grip with his tires?
It's very possible.
Well, the checkered flag has fallen for the second time this Trans Am season. Tommy Kendall, the winner in the Roush Racing Mustang, will meet the winner in victory lane in a moment.
Have you been thinking about that New Year's resolution? Well, thinking about it won't make it happen. The Santa Clarita Athletic Club invites you to be their guest for a day. Come check it out for yourself, then you decide. Backed by popular demand and for limited time only, the Santa Clarita Athletic Club is bringing back its 50% off new membership, or 2 for the price of 1 special.
I feel great. Why didn't I do this sooner?
So stop thinking about it. Do it now. Stop by or call the Santa Clarita Athletic Club today.
Texas. Parts from 174 suppliers in 32 states. They all come together right here in Georgetown, Kentucky, in the Toyota Camry. Built by Americans at a plant recently given the J.D. Power & Associates Gold Plant Quality Award. With this kind of craftsmanship, all the pieces fit together beautifully. The 1994 Toyota Camry.
The AVP Tour is having a grand old time in Grand Haven. So call Grandma and tell her to set Grandfather's clock for 8 p.m. Tuesday right here on Prime Ticket.
Tommy Kendall making an excellent last lap charge into another victory lane for the second time this year. Unstrapping, receiving some congratulations from his team manager, his crew chief. The brand new painted all sports car again in victory lane. Going to give him just a moment to get out of the car. Let him get collected, let him get a little fluids in him. What a pressure victory. All sports hat, of course, going on. Got to get the sponsors happy. Tommy Kendall, another great victory, number 2 in Trans Am. Whoa, 2 wins and 1 second place. Please don't stand on the top of the car. Tommy Kendall, you did that last time and almost put a hole in it. Tell us about this event. Tell us about that last lap.
Tell you what, you know, it was an action-packed race, and there's no way I could have gotten by Ron. And coming in, he was maybe having some brake trouble, and coming in that last lap into the keyhole there, he started braking on the inside, but then he moved to the outside, and I dove in there, and he saw me coming and chopped down, but I was already partially alongside, and we got together, and I'm sure he's not real happy about that, but he's been in the other end of that, like at Portland last year. You know, I would have loved to have just been able to drive by him. He drove a fantastic race. I'll tell you what, this all-sport car has been tough all day, and I feel good about this victory.
Where did you have the advantage on him at all? Was it just on the braking on the last lap? How could you keep with him the whole race? Every single lap, nose to tail.
It was all under braking, really. This car was exceptional there and through the tight stuff back in the S's, but he was really getting down the straightaway. And like I said, if he hadn't left that little opening, I never would have gotten by. And, you know, a little bit of a lapse there. He might have been checking his other mirror. I'm not sure, doing his downshift, but we'll take it any way we can get it.
You told me you were going to have to manage the car throughout the whole race, that you're going to have to watch the tires, the temperatures. Did anything go off management for you at any time?
Well, the cool suit cords came off and got wrapped around the gear shift, and so I had to wrestle with those a little bit, and that slowed me down for a lap or two. But the management went out the window on the first lap. We ran about as hard as we could the whole race.
Well, you're back in victory circle. Obviously, the plan wasn't exactly wanted, but Tommy Kendall, congratulations on a second Trans Am victory out of 3 races.
Thank you. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. John, Mike.
Certainly a happy young man, one of the great road racers in this country. Now, before the race, we heard a lot of talk along pit road about whether Kendall, as great a driver as he is, whether he's willing to really mix it up with other drivers. In other words, some of the drivers and team managers seem to think Tommy's great when he's out in front, but if he gets behind, well, he doesn't quite have as much. We're going to take a look at the front of the car where the contact evidently came between he and Fellows. He showed me that he's willing to mix it up in that last corner.
Well, again, I don't think it was anything flagrant or really deliberate. That was one of those things that they term incidental contact.
Sure.
And you hear a lot of people say the word incidental, and it's not very incidental at all. But I think he's such a class person that maybe he doesn't get actively involved in some real body scraping. Some of these drivers out here, like, we've seen a lot of them. In fact, here's just a replay. Once again, you can see the contact had to be so light. If there was contact at all, it had to be around that left side headlight area. And you can see there's not a mark on the car. So it was just one of these things. Ron Fellows went in there right on the limit of adhesion and the tiniest little bit of contact. It was really unfortunate. Ron Fellows, incidentally, is the star of the race today.
That's right.
And he drove a spectacularly great race. He did not necessarily make a mistake up at that at the top of the course. It was just a tiny little bit of contact on the edge of adhesion, and the car spins.
Fellows and Kendall battled it out all afternoon. Fellows led more than 44 laps before giving way. To show you the top 10 here, the Ray Bestis rising star of the race to Boris Said, Flowmaster star of the race to Ron Fellows, Kendall, Pruitt, and Gentilozzi unofficially your top 3, Dorsey Schrader and Greg Pickett rounding out the top 5. Good finish for Rick McCormick. Up to 10th, there's Ron Fellows. Sad way to finish up a great ride in 9th spot here at Mid-Ohio. We'll be back in a moment.
It's not the Amazon. It's not the Congo. It's not the Everglades. It's your front yard, and we can help you get through it. At Home Base, we've hired specialists in departments like nursery. They'll show you improved strength Union Razorback shovels that stand up to any job. Home Base, ready to help. And they're ready to help at the new Home Base now open in Foothill Ranch.
At McDonald's, you've always been able to eat with your fingers. Now you can save money by ordering with them. This handy signal gets you number 1, the Big Mac Extra Value Meal. This slightly more complicated gesture gets you the 2 regular cheeseburger meal. People with more advanced motor skills can order the Quarter Pounder with cheese, or with this, the McChicken Sandwich Extra Value Meal. At only $2.99 each, you may not be able to keep your hands off them.
What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
Alomar doesn't stop. Salmon's got a gun. Oh, baby, what a throw! Out at third is Alomar.
Back at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, Tommy Kendall, the winner with a last lap pass. Bill Adams, don't think we could have seen a more exciting finish. John Bizignano on pit road for us, trying to find out a little more about that last lap skirmish.
It's very unusual for Ron Fellows not to want to talk to the press. He's certainly one of the most cooperative drivers out here in Trans Am, but this is exactly why. This is where the contact took place on the right rear of this particular car, and when he was going into the keyhole around that right-hand corner, of course, when you get a good solid bump against that right rear corner, it throws everything out of kilt. This was where the other car could dive in and take the lead where Tommy Kendall made the contact. Ron Fellows, very unusual for him not wanting to talk to us, but he says, not now, not now. I just am too angry to let you know my true feelings.
Certainly a shame that Ron Fellows would be unhappy. I can understand that he is unhappy because he lost the race at all that point. Kendall, I thought, made a good point here. Ron Fellows won one at Portland last year in virtually the same set of circumstances. And I think you had it right, Bill. Incidental contact there, really.
No, if it were maybe a couple of other drivers that will remain unnamed, I would say it was not accidental. But Tom Kendall, Scott Pruitt, you just don't get that. It's in the heat of the battle. There's just simple contact. That's all.
As we said, Ron Fellows gets the Flowmaster Star of the Race Award today for his great drive, leading 44 laps of the 45 and change. Boris Said, who spun very late but still turned in a great ride today, the Rebestos Rising Star Award today to young Boris Said in his rookie season in Trans Am. And they're scoring Boris in 7th spot at the checkered flag, so he recovered nicely after that spin. Jamie Gallus there, another young driver who did a great job today before crashing late in the action here at Mid-Ohio. So our afternoon's competition complete, but we've got more stories to tell you here today at Mid-Ohio. We'll be back on our coverage of the SCCA Trans Am Championship on Prime in a moment.
Bowling is some people's idea of fun. Now, truck bowling, that's when things can get real interesting. But to do it right, you gotta have one of these. A 1994 Ford Ranger 4x4. Complete with push-button four-wheel drive, a whopping 4-liter V6, and a wide, powerful stance. Get a Ford Ranger 4x4 and go truck bowling. Come on. I just love league nights.
Don't wait. Get the News Weekly of Motoring, Auto Week. Don't wait for driving impressions. Auto Week drives them all and tells you about them first. Don't wait for car news. Auto Week covers the world. Auto shows, the new, the old, and brings it to you fast. Don't wait for racing news. Get the News Weekly of Motoring. Auto Week brings you the winningest coverage first. Don't wait. Get Auto Week, the News Weekly of Motoring, now.
Call 1-800-232-1502 for a full year. 52 issues at the special TV price of $19.95. Just 38 cents an issue. Save $80 off the cover price. You've thought about it. Stop waiting. Do it now. Call 1-800-232-1502 for the News Weekly of Motoring.
Mustang. It is what it was, and more.
Back at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, great finish, wild finish indeed. Round 3 of the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Championship has been brought to you by the all-new Ford Mustang. It is what it was, and more. Well, 45 laps into the books, Bill Adam, and some great battles all event long, but especially the last lap. Here's the Ford race summary of today's event. Tommy Kendall takes the checkered flag. He led only the one that counts, the pay lap, the last lap of the 45.
And should I bring it up? Did I say something?
You did, I have to admit. Although Pruitt looked good there at the end, too.
He did. Well, everybody came through at the end. Paul Gentilozzi, he even got his way up onto that victory podium after a really good run. So
sure did, and some great drives by a lot of those guys. Race speed a little over 86 miles an hour there. You saw very rapid, even though we had a couple of full course cautions. Pole speed today a little over 97 miles an hour, and a race speed of 86 certainly shows that these cars were really getting the job done. We take a look at where R.J. Valentine went off into the gravel pit. One of the nice safety features they've put in place here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And we mentioned it at the top of the show. It's been many years since I've been here. They've really done a great job of improving this facility. This is one of the wonderful place to race.
The prettiest racetrack imaginable. It's as beautiful as it looks on camera. It's even better in real life, and the temperature up here is gorgeous. I'd like to take it back home to Miami with me.
Great place, and a great place to race on indeed. But we're not done by any means here in our coverage of the SCCA Trans Am Championship for 1994. Next Saturday, we go to Detroit for the Grand Prix weekend and the Trans Am part of the card on Saturday. And you'll see the event June the 12th, 1 week from tonight, 7:30 on Prime. 2 weeks, we take a little break, and then we go to Portland, and you'll see that event also on the 26th at 7:30 on Prime. That's an IndyCar weekend. We're live on the afternoon of July the 4th. That'll be a lot of fun. The street course in Des Moines, always a great race, and we'll be with you at 2 o'clock, I believe, is our start time on July the 4th. July 9th, the following Saturday, also as part of the Cleveland Grand Prix. We'll be with you from Cleveland for the Trans Am on Saturday. The Molson Indy, July 16th. A lot of great events throughout the summer coming up here on Prime as our coverage of the 1994 Trans Am season. Three Rivers on August the 7th and Watkins Glen on the 13th. Road Atlanta, Road America, and the Dallas Grand Prix to cap the season once again here on Prime Network, our coverage of the SCCA Trans Am Championship. Got your bags packed?
I'm ready for the rest of the season right now. I mean, each race gets better and better. Miami started off with a victory of less than a second. We saw that spectacular last lap.
1994 when he crossed the finish line in front at Mid-Ohio.